I run the Artisan Bakery and Cafe in Market Square in Salisbury, and we've been there since 2013. Before I talk more generally about how we work, I've got an experiential presentation here where I'm going to show you some of the things we do with doughs. So I brought one I prepared earlier. This is the dough put together in the bakery about a couple of hours ago. It is, there we are, not very exciting, but it is very exciting. It's a high hydration term then, high hydration ciabatta dough. And by high hydration I mean it's got a high proportion of water to flour. And in this case it's 75%. So anything, 75, so a kilo of flour would be about 750 grams of water to get a wet dough. And anything over about 70% hydration is considered a wet dough. Because it's a wet dough, we have to give it some extra help to enable it to work the dough, to not become a flatbread in the oven. And we give it what we call folds. I'm going to do that now, and get a little bit of oil on my fingers. And what the point of this is that when you make the dough, it just becomes really slack. By giving it folds, it's a very simple process. You basically just stretch. You can see how sticky and wet it was. It's pretty unmanageable. And I do that about 6 or 8 times. And you end up, this is just a very short thing. Normally we would fold doughs over a period of an hour or 2 during the, it's given me 10 minutes, so it's going to be a rather foreshortened experience. But hopefully it will give the idea of why folding is really good and why it's really helpful for a dough. And if you ever make bread at home, I don't think people mention it in most books, but it's a really good technique for improving your dough. So if you're thinking to yourself, it's a bit rubbish sitting on the side, give it some folds, let it rest, give it folds, let it rest, give it folds, and it will come back together. Okay, so I'm going to put the lid back on there. So we'll come back to that. We're going to do 3 folds this morning, or this afternoon, and you'll see a significant difference to the dough over that period. We don't, you might say, why would you make a dough wet like that? There's a very good reason. It helps develop structure in the dough. So if you want a dough that's open, like a ciabatta, you need a wet dough. If you want a sourdough that's got a nice open structure, you'll develop a nice chew to it, chew to the bread, and you'll also get, as I say, open structure. And it's just a nice feel to it. It's just nice to sort of touching the dough and doing the folding. Okay, we'll come back. I'm going to put my timer on, so I just
When you say open, do you mean bubbles?
Bubbles, exactly that, yeah. Yeah, just bubbles.
So is this what you do every morning?
We do these doughs every morning, yeah. We do a ciabatta dough every morning, we'll do a sourdough every morning, we do a range of other different breads as well, but the wetter doughs are the ones that we give folds to, yes.
So you're employing quite a few people?
In terms of bakers in the bake business, we're only a small business, so there are 2 bakers and me, so we share the baking responsibilities within us.
Yeah. Up at 2 o'clock in the morning. And
yeah, that's right, yeah.
Kneading the dough.
Exactly, that's right, yeah.
Why does the wetter dough create more, is that just because the water?
It's been so if the less water you have, you get a tighter dough, and when it rises, it tends to keep a sort of what you might call a tight crumb, whereas when you've got a wet dough, it can be expansive, it can open out, and that's what you're trying to develop with folds and with the wetness as well.
Flour type with that?
You can use any flour type. This is an organic Italian ciabatta flour.
Specific to that loaf?
Specific for this loaf, that's right, yes. We tend to use for most of our bread, we use a Shipton, an organic wholemeal or a white flour for those, but it doesn't really matter that much. Okay, so we'll come back to that in a short time. Okay, being a baker. I haven't always been a baker, and referring back to Louise was saying about learning, I was in the book trade for most of my career, and I finished about 15 years ago, and I thought, I'd like to do something different than food. And I've always liked baking, and I wanted a cafe, and I thought, bakery cafe, that would be a nice coming together. And at the time it was we're looking back at 2012, 2013, I think there was a moment for bread, and artisan bread in particular, and sourdough was just coming into fashion, and people were beginning to care a bit more about the provenance of food and how it was made and the ingredients that were going into it. It seemed like a good time for us, and it was also an opportunity for us to differentiate ourselves as a food business from all the other food businesses that are around, particularly cafes. So the cafe bakery becomes something like, oh, that's different, we'll go there. And where we are. And all we needed was really just to appeal to enough people. Not everyone gives a shit about where their food comes from or what it tastes like, but we just needed enough people to care about that process of how we make things. And I guess now that interest in food is taking another step forward with the likes of people like Tim Spector and Chris Van Tullochen, who are looking at how food and big business actually work and whether most food businesses are making food at all. So I think there's increasing interest in people like us and about how we make our food and what it means. I want to talk about how we work and how we add our artisan values to the foods that we make. And mostly I'm going to talk about bread. We do make lots of other things, but bread is sort of the core of what we do. We make all of our breads on site. I think that's important because that's an immediate difference to most sort of industrial bakeries. We are all on site. We start with a bag of flour in one part of the building. We make doughs, we mould it by hand, and then we bake it, and it's all in, as I don't know if you know the bakery, but some people do, but it's all in that, just one small place. I'm just going to stop there because we are now going to give another fold to my bread here. As you can see, it hasn't changed massively. If we imagine that's 40 minutes on that, it will have slackened right off, and we'll be able to, but I'm going to just give another fold, and this is still, what it is, it's developing the gluten, it's building the golden dough strength, and that all of those elements are going to help make a nicer dough when we finish it. So you can see now, and as you can see that it's a much more billowy, pillowy loaf there. So we make about 8 or 10 different breads every day, and we do use a mixer for the main doughs, but no one picks up 10 kilos of flour and 7 kilos of water and mixes it by hand. But all the other processes are done by hand. And going back to what you were saying about learning, when I started, it's like, whoa, what have I done here? And we are learning like all craftspeople, I think, all the time. You learn techniques and you learn and understand more about the doughs, temperature and flours and hydration and all those things, and you understand when something goes wrong, you think, oh, I think I know what happened there, whereas probably 5 years ago I had a clue. But one of the issues for us as a baker is that bread is ubiquitous, it's everywhere. So we have to work hard to differentiate ourselves from bread from anywhere else, because it is basically just flour, water, salt and yeast. And I'm going to say the thing that, my camera's here, that really makes a difference is time. The modern industrial process has foreshortened bread making from being a day or 2 day process into about an hour. So they add loads of different additives to speed up the process, and you end up with a pretty indigestible loaf. And people go, oh, I don't like bread, it causes bloating. No, it's not all bread, it's just some breads. So we add back that time. For example, all of our breads will start, so we'll be baking tonight and tomorrow morning for Saturday. Our breads would have started at least this morning, and with things like sourdoughs the day before. So we've got putting a whole load of time into the process. A lot of it's not working time, it's just sitting and the doughs are developing, and that helps to develop flavour, develop the structure of the dough when it finishes, and that's what sets us aside, and I think makes the product that people will go, oh, it is worth spending a little bit more money at Henderson's than it is going to Tesco's, or wherever that might be. I remember when we were opening, just about 11 years ago, a group of teenagers were walking past the door of the bakery, and I got a big sign up saying Artisan Bakery coming soon, and one of them turned to the other two and went, what's Artisan mean? And the other one said, expensive. And I guess that's true, really. I always remember that, and I think it's one of the things we have to try and work to justify our costs, and that is why we get up at 2 o'clock in the morning there's something weirdly magical about standing in a small bakery on your own very often, working in the dark when 99% of Salisbury is asleep and the 1%, in other words, walk drunkenly past your window and go, "Ooh, he's making bread." Is that what it was first meant to?
Yeah.
But there's something quite special about that, and it's about having that time to spend when making your products and caring about it, giving that love and caring all the way through the process. And I guess that's it really. Using good ingredients, good techniques to develop a product that you really care about, and I think it's really good. I brought some things here so that people can see them. I'm going to give one more fold now before I finish.
That's a great way to finish. Thank you very much.
It's a bit tiresome now. It should have another couple of hours really before I can properly fold it. But
You can leave it outside and let it do its magic.
there we are.
Special Scrace bread.
Thank you. Has anyone got any questions?
What kind of oven are you using?
Pardon?
What sort of ovens are you using?
They're quite shallow ovens with stone base on them, so they get a very solid stone-based heat in them.
I just remember as a child, my grandfather was a baker and they had brick wood-fired ovens.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And the ladies, the community on Saturday used to bring their beef down and put in the ovens overnight. Because the ovens, the brick took on this sort of
Yeah, so it's just
fat, which just gave them red.
fantastic. Yeah, it just holds that if you have brick and stone, it holds the heat in, so you've got that, which helps with the lift at the time of when you put the bread in to begin with, and also gives you nice colouring when you put on the top of the bread and the bottom as well. Particularly if you're baking sourdoughs directly onto the stone, then that's really important.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.